Good evening, everybody. How is everybody today? I hope you had a great work day. If you're off today, if you were off today, I hope you had a good day off and was able to get some things done on your day off and rest up as well. And I know sometimes I take my days off and I don't rest up. I just do what I got to do to get things done. You know what I mean? So that's what I do. Try to get things done. Got cars to get ready for shows, race events, stuff like that. So I got to keep it moving. I can't chill. But today I wanted to talk about a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about spring rates. So spring rates are very important when you're lowering your Ford Escorts, whether it be a wagon, two-door hatch, four-door sedan, or first gen, second gen, third gen. You're riding and cruising on the street. You really don't want your car to ride like a brick. I mean, when you hit a dip, your head and neck is all up in the ceiling. I didn't have that experience, and it sucks. It does, especially if your wife or girlfriend or kids are in the car. They're going to ask you, what's wrong with your car? Why is it riding like this? Trust me, my daughter used to ask me questions, and Jasmine too. So, but yeah. So today we'll talk a little bit about spring rates, and today I have a few different springs with me that I've had, that I got out of my little collection, and I got some coilovers too. I got like two different brand coilovers, and just wanted to show you guys a few things. So first thing is, when we talk about spring rates, so first thing you need to learn to do is read the spring, be able to figure out what the spring rate is, like what the spring specs are. So like, for example, so this one here, if you see, this is an EOTTRACINGTEAM. This is actually a ground control spring. And it also has, that spring actually sits on this style sleeve. So it goes like this, and that's how it sits on the strut. So basically, when you're reading a spring and you're trying to figure out what the rate is and like the specs and all, so what you want to do, you want to read from left to right, okay? So if you look at there, it says 800, 250, and 400. So the first number is going to represent, I know I probably explained this in my previous video for the Lawrence suspension on Tough, but I'm going to explain again that way people, if they didn't catch the first one, they can get it on this one, however. But so from left to right, you're going to read here. So 800 is actually going to represent 8 inches tall. That's the height of the spring. 250 is 2.5 inches in diameter. That's here. And 400 is the actual spring weight rating. So a 400-pound spring on an Escort is actually pretty smooth in the front end. I don't know how a 400-pound spring will ride in the back. That's something that somebody may have to experiment with, but it might be a little bit tight. But 400, it might not be terrible. So, but 400 is a good spring rate for Ford Escort on the ground control setup. Now, you have different ones now, so you'll see how that one says 800, 250, 400. Height, diameter, and weight rating, right? So let's go to this one. So this one, get one we can read here. All right, so see this one here, same thing. It's an EOTTRACINGTEAM spring. It's in the ground. This is also a ground control spring, and has that same sleeve it sits in. So if you look here on those same numbers, okay, so you got 200, 64, and 67. So you got, it's going to be 200 millimeters, right? So 200 millimeters, of course, is going to be the height of the spring. So I think 200 millimeters is 7 inches, something like that. 6 inches. Let's see. So 200 mil. Okay, 200 millimeters is 8 inches. It's an 8-inch spring. You guys can see that. It's an 8-inch spring. Yeah, 200 millimeters is 8 inches. So this is an 8-inch tall spring. Then 64 millimeters is the diameter, which is going to be 2.5 as well. And like I was saying in the previous video, a lot of your common coilover spring sizes are going to be 2.5. And then 67 kg. No, 67 kg is actually going to be the weight rating of the spring. So 67 kg. Let's see. So I have this cool. Spring rate chart saved on my phone, and it tells you. Well, let's see if I can dim it up so you guys can see it. That's not working out too well, is it? No, it's not. So, all right, you can kind of see it somewhat. So basically, this is a chart, and it actually lets you see like kilograms, millimeters to pounds. So it actually converts these numbers. It converts these numbers that's on here that I just showed you. You can go on here and look and figure out what's what. So like, let's see. So like a 67 kg. Let me see. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's a little dark, but 67 kilograms is actually going to be. Hold on. I hope I'm telling y'all that right. Is that right? 60. I think it's 67. Yeah. It's supposed to be 67 kg, so we'll do this. Hold on. Give me a second. Sorry, I couldn't show you guys on the phone because the lighting is just not quite right. So, let's see. So, 67. Let's see, 2 inches. If it'll come up. My reception here ain't the greatest. So give me a second for that to load. If it ever loads. But yeah, so basically you're gonna have different spring ratings, and the numbering may not always be the same on them. So it's good to have that chart on your phone, like for kilograms, millimeters to inches, and it can help you with, figuring out what a spring rate is, what a spring height is, and what a spring diameter is as well. So this thing is not wanting to load. Hold on. Let's see. KG2. Hold on. Yeah, so we're waiting for that to load. So yeah, you're gonna have different numbering and stuff on your springs. Like I said, this one is pretty much straightforward. Where is that one spring at? Yeah, this spring is pretty much straightforward there. So you can pretty much read those numbers. But still, some people still don't know what that means, and that's why I'm here explaining this for the folks that don't quite understand the spring numbers and stuff like that. So looks like it's trying to load now. Let me see. Let's see. So let's see. Doing this wrong. So yeah, so that's 64 millimeters is the height, and then 67. Oh, no wonder this freaking thing was on. So this spring is, we can't get it to work right. But yeah, so you can actually download the chart. Download the. I just what I do is actually save it to my screen, and you can actually save the actual conversion chart from kilograms to inches. So you got, you got 200. So 200 millimeters is the height. 64 millimeters is going to be your diameter, and then 67 kg is going to be your spring, your weight rating on the spring. Just trying to show everybody how to read these. Like, see, this one is different. This one is, you can't hardly read it, but it's 200, 64, and 44. So this particular spring is actually what I'm running on the back of Tough Tough, and this is a 250 pound spring here, 8 inches tall, same as this. So and 2.5 in diameter. So basically, when you're messing with springs, of certain companies, they will have their information on the stamped on this, printed on the spring, and you just got to learn how to read the rating of the spring. That way you're choosing the right spring rate for your vehicle. If you choose the wrong spring rate, the car is going to ride like crap. It can cause you to blow your strut dampers. Can cause you to bust your struts, dampers, all that stuff. So it can cause issues. Could cause a car to ride really, really hard. When you hit a bump, it's just it's so stiff. There's no there's no cushion there. It's just hard. So you got to learn how to read your springs, because like I say, all of them are going to have numbers on them. They'll have part numbers. If anything, man, you can always go like on the EBOC website, put in that part number, or you can contact them and say, hey, I got this spring such and such and such. What's the weight rating on it? What's the specs on it? And they'll tell you. They'll tell you. They're not going to hide nothing from you. They'll tell you straight up, and they want you to learn. That way for yourself. Like I say, you got everything's printed on there. But so I also have this OBX spring here, and it's OBX spring, OBX Racing. It also has its spring, its specs on here for the spring. So yeah, but like I say, always pay attention to your spring rates. If you get suspension out of the junkyard that's name brand, particularly like these, or ground controls, just look at your spring rate and see what it is, and see if you can make it work with your vehicle and see how close you can get them. That's what I usually do. I'm a bargain suspension guy, so if I see suspension in the junkyard, I grab it, whether it be max speeding rods, D2s, ground controls, BCs, whatever is there. I even grab some of the coilover sleeves that don't cost like $50 on eBay. Sometimes I grab those. As a matter of fact, I got 2 of those here too. So these are eBay coilovers, like the straight up, like just generic $50 setups, that they sell. And the only thing bad about that is they don't have any specs. So you don't know which spring, you have no idea like which spring works the best, or which spring is what, or what's the weight rating, or nothing. You don't know anything. So now at that point you're guessing, and that would be like one of those trial and error things where you would have to be like, all right, well, let's try this spring and see how it rides, and then let's try this spring and see how it rides. Now, I'm going to tell you a funny thing. So, see this, all right, so everybody can see this, the difference in the coil size there. You see the difference in coil size. These about, these springs are, let's measure them real quick. So this spring is 6 inches. This spring is 6 inches, okay. So, if you look at the coils on the springs, notice that the one I'm holding here is got smaller coils than the one I'm holding here. So generally speaking, your coils, by looking at them, you can pretty much tell which one goes for the front and which one goes for the rear. You know, coilover springs like this. And, you know, of course, this one will be front, this one will be rear. Well, I've seen them to where the left side will have this coil spring and the right side will have this coil spring. So, like, instead of having both of these in the front, one of these is in the back and then one of these is in the front. So, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, the only thing bad about these is you don't know what the spring rate rating is, so I do not recommend grabbing these because I grabbed them for the simple fact that I was going to try to figure out what the weight rating was on the springs. I was going to take them to a place and check it out and just have it stamp them on there, but who knows, it might be coming at a later date. But so yeah, I can tell you though, this bad boy right here, way too stiff for McPherson strut. I had these on my white Escort, my daily, and man, they weren't this color, they were red, but there's the same spring, and man, that thing rode hard as the devil. I mean, wife was like, nah, I ain't approving of that. So, but if you look at this one, I mean, it's a pretty soft spring. So this is probably like, looking at it, you know, it's probably equivalent to, you know, this one right here, which was a 200 pounds. I'm sorry, 250 pound weight rating there. And if you look at them, you know, the coils are almost the same. So that's probably like a 200, 250 maybe, you know, just looking at it. But I don't truly know because it doesn't tell me anything. So, and same with this, you don't know because it doesn't tell you anything. So, you guys that are getting, you know, suspension out of junkyard for your Escorts, moral to all this is just don't throw anything on there and feel like, oh yeah, that'll work. I'm just gonna throw these on there. I can slam it, and then when it's right, and then when it rides like crap, you're like, oh, the product's junk. Well, the product is not junk. It's the fact of it's misused. And when I say misused, that means you don't take the time to figure out the mathematical portion of it, like figuring out your spring rate numbers and stuff like that, and you know, stuff like that. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna really say mathematical. Can't even talk tonight. Mathematics part of it. But yeah, I mean, spring rates are really important. And if you have the wrong one, you'll know when you got the wrong one because the car will ride like crap at all times. You get the right spring rating, not white, right. You get the right spring rating, you know, you won't have to worry about that at all. So a lot of people like to shame the company when they make the mistake of putting the wrong struts, you know, struts or springs on the vehicle instead of figuring out, like I said, figuring out the weight rating of the springs and, you know, trying to figure out what your vehicle weight is opposed to the vehicle's weight you're pulling the suspension off of. That's also a big factor because the dampening could be a lot tighter for a heavier vehicle than your vehicle being lighter. And when you install them, it will ride really, really hard no matter what spring you put on it. It's going to ride hard because the dampening is set up so tight. You know, and some of them have hardly any travel because it's real, real stiff. So, so the next thing we got here, got some full-blown DCs. These DCs actually came off of a Honda Civic. So these were sent to me by a buddy of mine, Hayden. Big shout out to Hayden for sending me these coilovers. I jumped all over him when I seen him in his parts, his scrap bin. I was like, no, you need to send them to me. I'll make them work on something. So, but again, see, there's numbers again. So, I talked to D2s. This is a Honda Civic. This is a D2 for a Honda Civic. I don't know. For some reason, I've had DC Sports on my brain. And DC Sports is a brand that Honda used, you know, back in the day. They may still use it, I don't know. But I remember all my buddies had DC Sports exhaust. on their Hondas and stuff, and DC Sport headers and stuff like that. So, pardon me for saying DC. It's D2. So, but again, D2's also got numbers there. So, when I talk to D2 over an email, I'm emailing a guy named Brandon. I think his name is Brandon. And Brandon was telling me that, the only number that you can, what do you say? The only number that is actually, that you can actually like convert is this one here. And that's 205. And that's basically the spring height. So 205 millimeters, and that's the spring height, I believe. I think it was the spring height. But yeah, so this is the only number that you could actually convert. And this one here, he told me that this wire was this number was actually the diameter of the coil that they used to make the spring, or something like that. That's something weird. But hold on. As a matter of fact, hold on. I'll read you the email, because I got it right here anyway. So I kept it pulled up just in case. I got a little confused on explaining that, which I knew I was going to, but it's okay. Nobody's perfect. I know I'm not. I don't call myself a professional by no means, but professionals make mistakes too. So, hey, it is what it is. I'm on here to help people, try to educate, you know what I mean? So, he says the only number that carries over is the second number, which is right here. It's 205, which is actually the length in millimeters. So it's 200, and I was right. So it's 205 millimeters in length. So, and the first number is the diameter of the coil wire used to make the spring. So yeah, which is weird, because I don't know why they would put that on the spring when you're trying to convert it. That's weird. I don't know, but I know these are European springs. So it's a European setup here. So yeah, it's crazy. But again, if you can find D2 coilovers in the junkyard, or max speeding rods, wherever it may be, they're always going to have springs. I mean, sorry. Well, yeah, all of them are going to have springs, but all of them are going to have numbers on them. So always try to figure out what that number is. I mean, if it's too tight for your vehicle, it's going to ride stiff. If it's close to the weight, to the rating, it'll be pretty smooth. But I can't remember actually what D2 set up the coilovers for the Escorts for. He told me, I can't remember exactly what it is, so I have to figure it out a little later. But yeah, he actually told me what rating that they use for the Escort, and I actually got her car pretty close. As a matter of fact, I told you guys wrong too, just thinking about that. This first number, I went by that first number on her coilovers in the rear, and I was saying they were 644. They're not. They're actually 420s. So they're 420s in the back, not 644s. I apologize. I told you guys wrong. So hey, you learn something new every day too, with different suspension, playing with it. So I've done lots of research on them. Lots of research on different suspension and stuff, but sometimes these numbers will throw you off. So you think you got it because another company didn't put it this way, and then you're like, all right, well, yeah, that's 11.5 to such and such, but no, it's not. So but yeah, so there's 420 pound springs in the back, and on her slush box, and this is a 420 pound spring as well. So yeah, I'll be fabbing these up to go on something. I don't know yet. It'll be an Escort though, I know that. So, but yeah, I just basically wanted to show you guys. This is a D2 setup, so those are the two numbers you'll see. On D2, this might be 2. It just depends on what the D2s that come off of. This could be 270 or 240. And this could be like 12 or 13. It just depends. What you get the actual setup off of. So that's D2. And now let's look at the max speeding rod. So the max speeding rod, I don't know why this one is upside down. Let's flip it. So the max speeding rod Actually, this is 70 and a half millimeter. So 70 and a half millimeter is going to be the actual length of the spring, and then 190 is going to be the inside diameter of the spring, and then that's 9 kg. Oh wait, I might have told y'all wrong. I might have told y'all backwards. Think there I go again. See, I'm confusing myself. I be looking at so many numbers on springs and stuff, but so I believe this is going to be the height. This is 70 and a half millimeter. That's the height, and then yeah, that's the height of the spring, I believe. Yeah, height of the spring, and then 190. Hold on, let me make sure. I got it written down. Hold on. Written down what's in my phone. How about that? So, all right, let's get this right. So, tell you in a minute. Let my phone load up, but I just basically want to get on and try to help everybody get a general idea of how these coilovers work. So all right, so I was incorrect. So this number 190 millimeter is the length of the spring. This is the diameter of the spring, and this is 9 kg. So 9 kg is 504 pounds. So it's a 504 pound spring. These actually came off of a Mazda 6. Got these off of Mazda 6 in the junkyard about a week or so ago, and just wanted to take these and see what kind of weight rating we have for these. So this is 70 and a half. 70 and a half millimeter is actually going to be your the spring diameter. 190 is going to be your spring length, and then 9 kg is going to be your weight rating, which is 504 pounds. I'm sorry. 13, I'm not sure what 13 and the little star represents yet. So still learning a little bit. So like I say, some of them will have them written plain as day. They'll have like your height, your width, your diameter, and then 7 kg, 10 kg, or whatever it is. So it can mix and match and throw around. Like I actually was looking at the D2 numbers as max speed rod numbers, and sometimes it's confusing. So you got to remember they're different. So, just want to get on and kind of sort of educate everybody, on full, one-piece coilovers and coilover sleeve springs. Always pay attention to your numbers. Always pay attention to your. Always want to pay attention to your specs on your springs. This will tell you everything, that you need to know about the spring, how tall, how what's the diameter, and the weight rating as well. So sorry for the few pauses, going to my phone, checking some things, but I just wanted to make sure I was explaining it right, because it's a lot, and I'm doing 3 different types of, 3 different companies, so all of them are going to be different. So got a little confused on a few of them. But just wanted to get on and show everybody, what these were all about. And max speeding rods, that's what these are. Max speeding rods is not a bad coilover. It's very inexpensive. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money. And for what they cost, I feel like, in my opinion, they ride pretty well. Jasmine's got them on the front of hers. I got them on a 93 SHO Taurus that I've had on it for 4 years, and I ain't got no complaints. The car rides great. But I know a lot of people say, well, max speeding rods, it's just a cheap generic, cheap eBay brand, Chinese, whatever. But like I said again earlier, if you get the spring rate right, you get the spring rate set up correctly, you shouldn't have any problems, as long as the dampening is correct too. got to make sure the dampening is correct. If the dampening is wrong, yeah, it's still going to ride like crap no matter what the spring rate is. So just remember, if you get springs off a heavier vehicle, 9 times out of 10, the dampening is going to be a little bit tighter than a vehicle that's lighter than that one you're pulling them off of. But if you get the suspension off of a vehicle that's equivalent to the same weight, equivalent to the weight of yours, or a little bit lighter, then the damper won't be as tight, and then that way you can adjust your stiffness, how stiff you want it, how soft you want it with the spring itself. But this one's got adjustable dampening here, so I don't know how many settings it's got, but it's got a few. So, but I don't know exactly how many settings it got because I can't even tell. So I don't see no markings up there, so we don't know. So, but yeah, and just like I said, this, you got this one, of course. You got D2, so 2 different companies, but at the end of the day, the springs are pretty much the same. It's just the actual dampening that's going to be set up different. Just like yesterday, I just want to get on and educate everyone, on the spring rates and how to choose the correct spring rate. I'm doing my best to explain this to everybody, so they would understand a little bit better on how these work. So I'm glad everybody's tuning in to my videos and everything, and I really do appreciate it. Like I said, I do the best explanation and most detailed as I can. So if I missed something, you feel like I missed something, hey, feel free to comment on my YouTube page. My YouTube, in the comments on my YouTube videos. If I missed something, hey, you could teach me something, I could teach you something. You know what I mean? So, but just wanted to basically touch base on that. Another thing. So I see a lot of guys just get coilovers just to say, yeah, I got coilovers, man. And they take this and they run them all the way. They slam them all the way to the limit to where it's all the way down. Like, that's not the best way to run your coilovers or any kind of suspension for that matter. You take a high chance in blowing the damper, then it starts leaking, then it's really going to ride like crap. And the first thing you're going to say is, oh, this coilover's a jump. Should have never got them. Well, no, it was user error because you lowered them all the way down, and yeah, it looks cool, looks great, but a car sitting that low, 90% of the time, it probably rides like garbage, and the strut at that point has actually reached the limit. So depending on your spring rate and how stiff the dampening is, you're hitting bumps and stuff like that, and you don't have a lot of travel left when you got the thing slammed all the way to the ground and it's pushed the strut shaft, it's pushed the shaft all the way down, in the cylinder, and you're like that far from bottom out, and then it ends up blowing the seals. So, but yeah, it's not good to slam a car like that. I have seen some cars that were slammed that actually rode nice, but I'm sure that those coilovers were quite a penny. And then also it just depends on, every car's suspension setup is different with ride height and everything. So I see guys wanting to just take stuff off, they slam it as low as they can get it, and then they ruin the strut. And then, like I said, the first thing they say is, oh, coilovers a jump. Don't buy these, don't buy this, or, that's not the way to go, man. Set it up the best way you can and set it up right, and take the time to study your spring specs and try to figure out, dampening and stuff like that. And once you do that, you shouldn't have any issues. It'll be better setting your suspension up. Your car ride a whole lot better. Be like smoother on the road, over bumps and stuff like that. So, lower cars catch hell when you're going over a bump or something like that. So, so I just want to get on here and show you guys, give you guys some knowledge on, springs, spring rates, how that works, some stuff like that, So thanks guys for tuning in again. If it's something I missed or something you would like to know, like feel free to contact me. I'm on four sources of social media. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If it's something I missed on there or something you can teach me, I'm very coachable, and I take constructive criticism well. I've learned from a lot of older guys, so I take it pretty well. So, but thanks, guys. I just wanted to share that with everybody, and like anybody that didn't know what those numbers mean, now you know. But just remember, everyone's different. So if you have a question, you get a spring that's got this particular spec on it numbered that way, or you got one specifically numbered this way, feel free to contact me. I can figure it out for you. I got the chart on my phone. I know it's like the shop is hard to get reception here sometimes. So again, thanks to everybody for tuning in, and thanks for being patient while I was trying to figure out some of those numbers and make sure I was telling you all right. So I'd much rather say hold up and let me go to my phone and make sure, because I know I got it logged in my phone, than just tell you wrong and then you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be the one that coached somebody in the wrong direction. So, but I feel like I'm pretty confident. I've built a lot of cars coming up, and mostly Escorts, and I set up my own suspension and stuff like that. So I think I'm doing something right, because all the cars ride great that are lowered. So, but thank you guys for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to message me, contact me. I'll help you. You can help me. And I'm just glad I was able to get on here and get some suspension over here and show you guys the differences and what numbers to look for and stuff like that. But remember, if you see these, you can get them, but it's always good to be able to know what the spring rate is. But like I said, a spring like this, prematurely, you're probably talking about 250 pounds. This one could be anywhere from 400 to 600, maybe 7. So, but I'm gonna tell you something real quick. So, I talked to Ground Control a while back, just a few years ago, when I started learning about spring rates and stuff. So I talked to them, and I asked them about these old coilovers here, and they told me that most of those $50 generic coilover sleeves were right around 750 pounds, weight rating, and that's way too heavy for an Escort. So yeah, that's way too stiff. But those coilovers like this, you mostly found them on Hondas, and I'll tell you why you mostly found them on Hondas. And I learned this myself. Hondas have wishbone suspension, of course, that a lot of you know, and it's very flexible. So Hondas can get away with the craziest spring rates, the tightest and hardest spring rate ever. They can ride around with 12,000 kg, 12 kg springs or whatever, and ride like new money. So yeah, Honda's got very flexible suspension. So that's why they can run the very, very low dollar, low budget coils like this that are really, really stiff, and they can get away with it. Not on an Escort. It ain't happening. So thanks guys for tuning in again, and I appreciate everybody tuning into my videos. And for those that are learning, keep the comments coming. I really appreciate it. Just let me know I'm doing my job and trying to educate you guys and show you some things. And at one time I didn't know any of this, so I figured I'd go ahead and share it with the folks that may not know. You know what I mean? So this is mainly for the people that may not know. And heck, sometimes the people that are experienced in this, they're like, hey, I never know that. All this time I thought this, and that's me. I mean, it's been times where I thought I was doing something right, and somebody showed me the way. I'm like, oh, all right, so being coachable is the best way to be, and you know, being able to take constructive criticism is good too, because that way you're not one-minded. Me, I'm all over the place. I like to learn whatever I can learn. So again, thanks guys. I appreciate it, and hope everybody has a wonderful wonderful weekend, and you know, have fun, be safe, and thanks again for tuning into my video. And like I said, like and subscribe. Like I said, I'm on four sources of social media. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you guys got any questions on these springs, any questions on weight ratings, stuff like that, and spring specs, just let me know, and I'll do my best to help you out. So thanks guys, appreciate it. Everyone have a blessed weekend, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks everybody.